What's up, guys? Jack here, and I wanted to share this news with you guys. I am super excited about this. The 2024 Le Mans entry list just got released, and starting off that entry list of 23 hypercars is the number 2 Cadillac that's racing full season in the WEC. This car finished 3rd place overall last year, and with Cadillac's strong performance pace-wise at the Rolex 24, I think they're better suited to maybe even increase that position and maybe fight for the win next year. The entry list shows a TBA, but there was just some news that got broke. This car is going to be driven by Earl Bamber and Alex Lynn, the full season drivers, and the 3rd driver is Alex Palou, the IndyCar champion and contract extraordinaire. Alex Palou will be making his Le Mans debut. It is not his debut in the Cadillac. He made his first race at the Rolex 24. So this is going to be exciting. Number 3 Cadillac, that's the IMSA run car. Sebastian Bourdais, Renger van de Zand, and Scott Dixon. This was the fastest of the Cadillacs last year. They had a lot of issues that were out of their control. They got hit under a slow zone while fighting for the lead. They caught up to the Ferrari early on in the race. Sebastian Bourdais held the fastest lap of the race for a very long time. The 3 car had a lot of pace last year, so expect to see a lot from them this year as well. Now, the next car on the entry list is one of the IMSA Penske Porsches. This year it'll be running number 4, not 75, and it'll be driven by Matthew Jaminet with a couple of the other IMSA drivers. It has not been announced which ones those are, so it'll be the number 4 Porsche this year, which was the 75 Porsche last year. The next car is the number 5 and 6 Penske Porsches. These are the full WEC entry cars. In the 5 car, we have Matt Campbell, Michael Christensen, and Frederick McAvicky. In the 6 car, we have Kevin Estre, Andre Lauderer, and Lawrence Vantor. Very strong lineups in both of those cars. Expect them to be very aggressive all season in the WEC, and they want that Le Mans win. Next up, we have the new, for 2024, black Toyota GR010s, the 7 and 8 car, Mike Conway, Kamui Kobayashi, and Nick DeVries coming in. And then we have Sebastian Buemi, Brendan Hartley, and Ryo Hirakawa. This car, they're going to want some revenge at Le Mans this year. They're going to be the favorites. They have the most knowledge of this class. They have their most knowledge of anyone driving a particular car. This car's been here since the adaptation of the rules. Most mileage of any car, maybe now, besides the Porsche 963, which has done so many other races in IMSA as well. They have a lot of track knowledge as well. Next up, we have, honestly, the only car I don't really give a chance of winning, but we'll have to see what's coming up with that. They have 2 silver drivers, Carl Watana Bennett, who, no offense, I know nothing about. And then there's Antonio Cervali, I know nothing about. And then Jean-Claude Vernet, who is a platinum-rated pro driver. He's going to be leading that program. This is a privateer entry. It's an old Italian coach building firm. They revived the name, and they do have a street version of this car. But this is the first year of this new car. There's been some things going on behind the scenes, which doesn't give me a lot of confidence. But they said their aim for this year is to get a podium, so we'll see what they can do. Next up, we have Herz Team Jota, the gold Porsche. Now, if you gave me their driver lineup from last year where they competed really well at Bahrain, I think this car would be a threat for the win, but it's not as strong as it was last year. This year is going to have Will Stevens, Norman Nato, and Callum Ilott. This is Callum Ilott's first time in this. Callum Ilott, really good driver. Norman Nato, he races in Formula E. I just don't know what he's... Every time I feel like I've watched Norman Nato drive, and I know he's a very fast driver, but he has been the worst starting driver I have ever seen in the WEC. I remember him racing the Rebellion, and he was like 5 seconds off the pace on cold tires for a couple laps. And Petit Le Mans, he qualified on the outside of the front row with the ESM Nissan DPI and was last in the class by the end of the lap, just getting bullied out of the way. So I don't think it's as strong as it was last year. He's a very fast driver, but I've just never been that big of a fan. So that's to wrap it up with the Herz Team Jota. Very, very good. It's still a strong driver lineup. It's just not as strong as it was last year with Antonio Felix da Costa sticking to Porsche's Formula E program, which is a shame. He was really fun to watch. And Yippee Yay, who crashed the car while leading last year, moving on into a car that we will talk about later. Next up, we have the number 15 BMW M Hybrid V8. So this is the BMW making their debut in the WEC with this car. They raced in IMSA last year, and I'm going to be honest, the driver lineup in this car looks stronger than the one in IMSA. You have Dries Vanthoor, very, very fast GT driver. Raffaele Marciello, probably, and you could make a very successful argument saying the fastest GT3 driver of the past 5-6 years. And Marco Wittmann, long-time BMW DTM driver, very, very quick. I think BMW might get a win in the WEC before they get one in IMSA. Next up, we have a new car for the season and a new car completely. It is not raced yet. It'll be making its debut very, very shortly in the WEC and in IMSA. That's Lamborghini Iron Lynx. So in this car, we have Romain Grosjean. I don't think too many people need to know who that is. Andrea Caldarelli, who's been driving Italian sports cars for as long as I can remember, and driving them very, very quickly and successfully. And Matteo Cairoli moving over from the Porsche team into Lamborghini. Very, very fast drivers all around. If this car gets some good balanced performance and is reliable, I think it's going to be very quick. It was actually the fastest car at Daytona in Daytona testing. So it's going to be interesting to see, can Lamborghini right out of the box be competitive with the other manufacturers? Next up, we have the next BMW, which two BMWs in this. So in this car, we have Sheldon van der Linde, very, very fast South African driver, former Audi factory driver. Robin Freins, who's been one of the best LMP2 drivers for a while. Guy is wicked fast. Rene Rast, he's driven everything. He's driven a lot of the Yost run cars like the Mazda DPI, the Audis, GT3 wins. The guy wins at everything. And then next up, we have Alpine making their debut with another new car. They raced in the first season with an ex-Rebellion LMP1. Now they've moved on to the hypercar regs with this car, which hopefully one day might show up in IMSA. But the Alpine A424. In the first car, we have Paul-Luc Chatin. He might not be the biggest name, but this man has like 3 or 4 LMP2 poles at Le Mans in recent years. This guy is wicked, wicked fast. I remember seeing him in person race in an LMP-C class in the ELMS in 2011. But every time I've seen this man in a car, he is wicked fast. His teammate is Ferdinand Habsburg, and he's that Habsburg. Yes, he is part of that family. Yeah, a little bit of history, some World War I history in there, but a very, very famous family. He is actually a prince, and he's a very fast race car driver. He is a pro driver, teamed up with the last driver in this car, Charles Mallacy. Also a wicked fast driver, moving up from LMP2. I don't expect this driver lineup to have any issues at all. Now, the next one we have, also a pretty strong lineup we have in the second Alpine. The predominant, if you're running an LMP2 car, you want this guy in it because he's going to win it, and that's Nicolas Lapierre, who's won multiple times in LMP2. Wicked fast, ex-Toyota factory driver. Maybe a little aggressive sometimes, but an amazing driver. This next guy, I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is Mick Schumacher. It says his dad was a F1 driver at some point. But yeah, this Mick guy, he might be doing pretty good. Apparently his dad raced some sports cars too with Mercedes. So kind of hopping into sports cars, maybe that'll give him a bump if he gets a race, some couple race wins. But in all seriousness, Mick Schumacher is going to be racing in the Alpine this year. He does still want to go back to F1, but those options are looking less and less likely unless an outstanding season against some mega talent really shows up. And the last teammate is Matteo Vaxivière, very fast driver. He's driven a lot in IMSA and the ELMS and WEC and LMP2 and the DPI class. A lot of experience. I expect pretty good driver. So next up we have the other Hertz Team Jota car. This is the 38 car. In this one we have Oliver Rasmussen, very fast young driver. Phil Hansen, he was with United Autosports in their LMP2 program forever, running up front lots of the races. And then we have a ex-F1 world champion and Garage 56 driver Jenson Button finishing out this lineup in the Hertz car. That is a incredibly strong lineup. Then we have the AF Corsa Ferrari team. So Ferrari, AF Corsa, and then there's AF Corsa. There are 3 Ferraris in this, and we're going to get to the first 2 now. So the winning team back again. So we have, again, an unchanged lineup of Antonio Fuoco, Miguel Molina, Nicholas Nielsen, and then Alessandro Pagidi, James Colato, and Antonio Giovinazzi. The 51 car coming back, they want that second win. They want another win. So they're going to be incredibly competitive again, especially in Le Mans. Their car has very good top speed. The only thing to ask is, I think at Le Mans, if they didn't make that tire warmer rule, Toyota would have walked the race, regardless of Ferrari's pace. They were so bad on cold tires, and they really did struggle to make the tires work as well as Toyota could. So I think that's going to be a big thing in this season. They said no tire warmers at Le Mans. They've already staged it. So what can Ferrari do this year to kind of close that gap? And that's what the big gap that everyone really needed to get to, is being able to take care of the tires as well as Toyota did. So Ferrari's managed to figure that out. Expect them to be right up there at the front again at Le Mans. Next up, we have the second of the Lamborghinis, Mirko Bortolotti. Very, very experienced Lamborghini GT3 driver, very, very quick. Raced with the Grasser program for a long time. Danny Kvyat, ex-F1 Toro Rosso driver. It is interesting to see him on this list, but there's no country listed, but I do believe he has an Italian passport. Next up, we have Eduardo Mortara. He did a little bit in F1. He actually did a NASCAR race, I remember. And he was a DTM champion. Very, very, very fast driver. Good to see him getting into a program like that. It is definitely deserved. Then we have the AF Corse Ferrari. That's the team. Just AF Corse. This is a privateer-run Ferrari 499P with Robert Kubica, Robert Schwartzman, and Yiffy Yi. This is going to be a very, very strong lineup. And pretty much everyone knows who Robert Kubica is. If you don't, F1 driver, very, very, very fast, got in a bad rally accident, pretty much lost a lot of the use of one of his hands, but he's still insanely quick. Robert Schwartzman, very, very fast driver in F2, competing for race wins and competing for the championship. Yiffy Yi was insanely fast in the Hertz Team Jota car last year. So the only thing to worry about this car is, well, maybe the other Ferraris want to win more. So next up we have the Peugeots, which will still be wingless for the first race of the season, but we expect those cars to have a rear wing for the remainder of the season going into Le Mans. So that, awesome, exciting. So we have Jean-Eric Verne and a couple of to be confirmed. The big issue with Peugeot is most of their drivers also do Formula E, and Formula E doesn't think to not clash with the WEC. I don't know why. It's really annoying. In the second car, Stoffel Van Doren's confirmed, but again, we don't get to see the rest of the lineup yet. Then we have the Proton Competition Porsche, another customer Porsche 963. This lineup, it's just as stacked. Neil Yanni, guy had the pole in 2016 for Le Mans. One of Porsche's factory drivers for a very long time. The guy is wicked fast. I remember him in his Rebellion days. Great driver. Harry Tignall, really fast driver. He's with Ford's Ford Multimatics program in IMSA for the Ford Mustang GT3. So Proton Competition runs the Ford Mustangs as well. Multimatic builds the chassis. So Harry Tignall is kind of getting the best of both worlds right now, being a Multimatic driver, because he's now also a Ford factory driver in IMSA and a Porsche factory driver in the WEC. Tough life for him to have right now. Congrats, Harry Tignall. And then Julian Edlauer moving up from the GT3s. Guy's really fast as well. Longtime Porsche guy. And then we have the IMSA champions, the car that had the pace to win the Rolex 24, but was held off by the Porsche in a great end of race battle before the flag was prematurely thrown. The Whelen Cadillac Racing Team. So this car is going to have Pippo Derani, Jack Aiken, and it's to be confirmed, but we all think it's Tom Blomqvist, the 2023 Rolex 24 winner, 2022 Rolex 24 winner. The guy is wicked fast. Tom Blomqvist going to IndyCar this year, will also be running in Le Mans. That's what we're expecting. We might all, hopefully we get to see him a little bit more, but that's what the expectation is. Now, there is one more car that could enter in, and that is the 79 Proton Competition car, which is on the reserve list. That car is slated with Jean-Maria Bruni. So if one car drops out, like one of the GT3 cars, they can't make it anymore. One of the LMP2 cars, they lose funding and they drop out of the race. The Proton Competition car would enter. So we are entering this Le Mans 24 hours with 3 factory-backed Cadillacs, 2 factory-backed Toyotas, 2 factory BMWs, 2 more factory Lamborghinis. Oh, and then 2 more factory Peugeots. This is just getting better and better. And the amount of customer Porsches, the Porsche 963 is going to be the highest numbered car on the grid. There's no other car that's entered into Le Mans this year that has more entries than Porsche 963s. The only other thing that comes close is the Ferrari in the GT3 class, which I believe there are 4. So Porsche's definitely going to be happy and going to be having very strong chances. This is the strongest Le Mans that has ever happened. 1999, that's pretty much up there. There were 7 manufacturers that had considerations, because there's still reliability back in those days, that could theoretically win this race. I could make an argument that every single one of the Cadillacs could win the race. I could see arguments for every single one of the Porsches pretty easily. The Toyotas, no doubt. The BMWs, those lineups are really strong, and they have struggled with a little bit of reliability issues, but I could also see an argument for them. Alpine, they are on the best chassis from the LMP2 chassis suppliers. They are on the Orica. The Acura was definitely the fastest GTP car in 2023. And look at their weight they had to run. And the Rolex 24 this year, they were 50 kilograms heavier than the Cadillac. They were running like almost Toyota weight. So expect those Alpines to be pretty competitive right away. So it's just going to be an amazing race. The driver talent, the cars, I'm just excited for it. So hopefully you guys can be excited for it too. I might do a breakdown of LMP2 and LMP3, but I was just so excited to seeing that hypercar entry list that I just had to talk about it real quick. So thank you guys for listening to me ramble about the WEC, but this is going to be the greatest season of the WEC and the best Le Mans I've ever seen. So thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.